Good morning, maybe good afternoon, hopefully not good night because that would be late if you were watching this video. It's the 2nd of February. Let's go over the big winners from last night on the 1st. There were 3 games on the schedule. What happened? There were some goals. Some offense for the Kings, the Caps, and Calgary. All the home teams, by the way. Yep, at Washington, at Calgary, at LA. Predictable. Kind of not as predictable because Minnesota hadn't been giving up as many goals lately, and Boston had some solid offense. You needed some Boston guys if you were going to have the best lineup. Let's take a look at what you needed. This was the optimal lineup on Draftkings. If you had this, you would have won. I ran some results from the big tournament I entered. I entered like that $4 one that has 11,000 people or something because I wanted to get a distribution of kind of how are people picking and what are their scores, in general, what's winning. So 58.91. It was a mixture of Boston and LA, Krejci, Carter, Marchand, Gabrink, Oshie from the Caps, Orlov. There's really 3 teams on here. Budai with the shutout. Spona. Now, this was 58.9. You could have done better. You could have done 72.9 if you were able to forecast the past and for really the future. So Budai, 9.4. Here were your goalie stats for the day. Budai, Elliott, Holtby, 5-3 win, still managed to put up 6 points. But yeah, it was the big shootout. Colorado had the worst team out of all the 6 teams playing last night. Look at Tuukka with a negative. Spencer Martin, I guess he must have come in the game late. He didn't really give up 5 goals. I think they pulled Pickard, and I'm not sure. I got to double check on that because the way that my roster comes out, and I wonder if Pickard's not. I don't know. Somebody check that. I don't know the answers. I'll take a look at that later. So here are your goal scoring. So what did you need? You needed Carter. Yeah, very predictable. Here's your costs per point. You can see the weird ones were Ferland on Calgary and Jelen also on Calgary. And Jelen was really the sneaker here. Look at these 2 ownerships, right? This is your ownership percentage in the tournament that I grabbed from. And 0.3, 0.7, if you had in Jelen on Calgary with a 7.5 points, that really pushed you over the edge. And also Ferland. I don't know if they're on this. Are they on the same line? Let's see here. Jelen, cheap only 3rd line. And Ferland, I bet you he's a 4th line. Wow. That was a tough call to pick up Ferland there. But you needed somebody cheap to optimize. So if you go back, so there's your tough ones. Muzzin, going over the video yesterday, Muzzin, I had him. Pasternak had him. Marchand had him. Backstrom hasn't been playing as well, but he's a really solid player. And, I mean, let's look at the last few. Backstrom. Look at him with 4-4. I mean, he's still solid. Like, he's in there. That's not a terrible pick. You could have grabbed Kuznetsov as a center instead. He also scored very well. And he scored high, right? I mean, Kuznetsov put up 6 points instead of 2.5, so you wouldn't have been that short if you grabbed Kuznetsov instead. So that wasn't that bad when you're going optimal here. But Marchand, Pasternak pick. So now your LA guys, Dustin Brown. Now, what happened with Kopitar? I think Kopitar only put up 3 points because if you were going to grab, Dustin Brown gave you 8. Muzzin was really predictable. Dwight King, Gabrick is the other guy you could have grabbed. So you're going to lose 4 or 5 points. Kopitar only put up, what, 3.5? So Brown was the guy to grab. Was there anything to point you in the direction of Brown? And here's where he is. 4,2455, and then his salary is only $3,900. So cost per point wise, let's look at his cost per point over the last few days. Cost per point wise, Brown, 975. That's a little better pickup. You can see that Doughty's been extremely expensive, so that's why it was better to grab Muzzin instead of Doughty, right? Where's Muzzin? Yeah, look at Muzzin's much cheaper per point the last few games, and there as well. So that was kind of obvious. It's 5 and 5 and 6. I mean, it looks like you wanted to take Kopitar. what expensive? 5,500 versus what Justin Brown only 39. So just, I mean, I guess he was a decent sleeper there, but you really needed him because he put up 8 points. And you wanted to stay away from Ovechkin, even though OV put up put up 6 points. He still cost you 1,400 a point, right? I grabbed Burakovsky and Lars Eller on my big roster. I had a nice roster that did cash in this tournament. It came in like 500 place, but it had Eller and Burakovsky instead of grabbing those guys on Calgary on it. And had I grabbed them, I really would have had a shot at winning this because I had Marchand, Pasternak, Carter, Muzzin. I picked up a few other points with Kuznetsov instead of Backstrom, which still wasn't that bad. So here's what happened. You can see Carter heavily owned. It was Brown and Jelen, and I guess Ferland. But if you look at everybody else, Ferland wasn't that high above everybody else anyway, right? 5 here. You start to lump some guys at 4.5 points here, 956. But that's what you wanted. So looking ahead for tonight, I think there's 7 games on the slate tonight. I'll be doing a video later today. And you also, I made some alternate rosters, but I couldn't get anything above 72.9. So a lot of this was predictable, and really you could have pulled a roster that got you up here in the 50s. I got up to 46 if you had anticipated that the home teams were really going to be strong. And Minnesota, coming off playing last night against Calgary, a team that was rested for 6 days, puts up 5 goals, right? That's really where you needed to be on point, is to see that Calgary was going to outlast Minnesota. And you wanted to grab Budai in that because Colorado stinks and LA was at home. Look at the shots, right? Washington only had 22 shots last night. Is that right? That can't be right. Is that right? 22 and 5 goals. Yeah, I guess that's why Rask was a negative 1.6. I don't know if they pulled Rask later in that game. I didn't catch the entire game, but it's possible. I think they did pull him. We need to see how my goalie's stats are coming in here. I don't know if they're completely accurate. All right, well, we will see you later today. And if you're interested, please contribute to my Patreon campaign. I'm going to start releasing the files only to Patreon members, and then, of course, I'll send some out to people that ask. But I really want to try to get like 100 patrons on here so I can do this every day and send the file out to everybody. That's me back in 1985. So I will see you guys later. Kent's Talk is out, and may your players be scoring tonight.